It's Friday, so you know what that means. It's another training log day. Let's get into it. I'm Carl Ragavan, Europe's original starting strength coach. This is Beautiful Strength. Welcome to the show. So those of you who kept up with last week, you know that I'm switched my 3-day routine to 4. So it allows me to do heavy upper and lower split essentially. So with Thursday's routine, there was a heavy strict press. This is my light upper. So strict press at 115. Just did it with a belt and wrist straps. Felt pretty good, no issues on that. No elbow sleeves needed. So we'll just keep that there for the layback haters. Strict press 115, suck on that, boys. Felt good, no real issues. Warm-ups felt good. So yeah, have a look. This week being light week, I like to put the low pin press on this day. So again, how I measure it roughly is when I'm standing upright, so feet kind of shoulder width apart, low is kind of nose to mouth height, and then high is kind of eyebrow to forehead. Here's the deal though, for me personally, I like to air my pin press on a much heavier side, and I didn't realize I was doing this by accident, but for me, I really need an overload stress on the pin press, regardless if it's high or low. So for me, I've actually been taking the height when I'm standing like so, but when I actually approach the bar, my stance is a lot wider. So if you know already, if you've observed my pressing, my stance is quite wide. Sumo stance, you could call it. So I've always found on a heavy press, I actually think a wide foot stance is really good. A bit more stability. It also, anyone who has issues with push pressing and bending the knees, you're less likely to bend your knees in a wider stance. But I actually just naturally started taking my stance out wider as the press started to get heavier and heavier. It was just a progression. Not everyone takes that wider stance. So my point is, because it's a wider stance, the bar is actually higher up. So you could argue that my low pin press is maybe a little bit more like, in terms of height, because I'm that much shorter being in a wider stance, you could argue that even my low pin press is actually quite high. So it's working well for me. If I ever needed to take the pin press even lower down, I would, but no need. So that's the reasons on that. So in essence, that's kind of a long-winded way of me saying I'm basically cheating. So there it is. But as far as the 120, that's kind of my first time pin pressing to the low setting for this training cycle. So 120 for me off a low pin is a respectable starting place. Wasn't hard. Again, Thursday, in and out, heavy single with 115 on the strict, 120 on the pin press. Felt easy. Have a look. On Friday, I am doing a snatch heavy for a top single, my back squats and haltings. So that was programmed for this week. And as far as the snatch, I kind of think I got into my head too much and I actually rushed off the floor. So because I'm not really focusing on Olympic lifts and I'm just trying to crack off a token single, basically did 10 kilo jumps all the way up. I think I went bar 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and then if I was being more tactical, it might have been better to do 85 and then go to 90, but hey ho, I'm just trying to warm up in that regime. So I think on my first attempt with 90, I just pulled it off the floor too aggressively and kind of shocked me how fast it kind of flew up overhead. So first one I missed behind, which wasn't a problem. I was kind of like, oh. And so second attempt, got it fine. I just took my time off the floor. It's kind of weird in my head because 100 has always been my max. I always remember 90 being mentally like a hard number and feeling heavy. So I think in my head I'm still in that mindset, almost like PTSD of knowing how quickly I'm rushing the reps when I was a lot weaker and my form was not as good. So I actually just needed to be a bit slower off the floor and the catch was going to be there. So that moved fine. Second attempt, have a look. And then the squats. So again, if you followed from last week, I did triples with 235. I still wanted to go up this week, so I wanted to put 240 on the bar. In my mind, I think I already made up the choice that I was going to do doubles, because here's the thing, at my current level and my priorities in training, my focus is on press and deadlift. So bench and squats aren't the priority lifts. So I still wanted to put some weight on the bar and feel 240, but the fact that it's not set 5 or a 3, just 2 heavy doubles, was actually fine for me. So I actually prefer just having that little bit of progression, which I did from, you know, week 1 building up all the way to week 9, but it's giving me a lot more play with the reps and sets now. So what I mean by that is I don't necessarily, the following week I might not go up to 245 or 242. It's the same that happened on my volume squat. Pin volume squats was tough for 220. I think I got mostly doubles. I'm happy following week to maybe try and improve and do triples and maybe build to 5s. So I feel like the reason with the squat, you know, a 220 volume on pins, I think my best ever was maybe 5 triples on pin squat, and my best set of 5 on squat is actually 250 for 5. So again, a bit of a long-winded answer, but doing doubles at 240 felt good and I knew I'd produce some good reps, so I was happy with that. Again, it's not a set of 5, but at the same time, you know, I know what I've been capable of in the past, and it doesn't have to be perfectly on track, because again, when you get to my numbers, like I said, a 250 for 5 is me on my best day when I'm having a great training cycle. So 240 for some conservative doubles was what I did. So have a look at that. And then the haltings, that's again where I'm putting more emphasis on really trying to go for it. 255 kilos on haltings for 2 sets of 3. The triples felt good, no issues. I almost felt like I probably could have done a set 5. Have a look at those. So that's all for another heavy day training log. I'm Carl Ragavan. That was beautiful strength. And remember, the barbell never lies.